Good morning.
Indeed. How are we?
Is this how we're going to start all of our episodes now? It's just you and I. Simon won't be coming into this episode, but some maybe will duck in, duck out.
I don't think he will, but that'd be really funny if he just, hey guys. Simon.
Well, yeah, to preface this episode, Simon is taking a much needed break from hopefully pretty much all things other than relaxation in Amsterdam after he finished up his Lericon event. So it will just be S2 today. 2 S's.
EC2. Do we have E's and C's in our name? No, we don't.
Instead of the bucket, it's now the compute.
The container.
So, can I hear, your key takeaways from Laracon EU that took place on Monday and Tuesday? Did you get to watch any of the streams?
I watched mostly like keynote stuff.
Okay.
I did watch a bit of Aaron Francis. I did watch a little bit of Michi. I think that's how you say his name. Building PHP extensions on day one.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I think he was really close to before Taylor. Taylor, of course. Simon, of course. I think that was about it. How about you?
I watched as many as I could, but that basically meant whatever was happening 8:30 Eastern time plus.
Yep.
So it was like, basically whatever was right after their lunch break onward. So much of the same. Looks like Laravel Cloud is looking really good. Nicely polished.
If you've seen any of Jason Begg's tweets since then, I mean, this guy's nuts. I love it. Who knows what he's doing? And I want to bug him, but I'm just gonna let it be a surprise. He'll tell us after it's done. I know him enough to know. Oh, you'll have to see. I can't smile so much if I'm gonna try to imitate him. He laughed last time I sent him a little snippet of me imitating him. He's like, dude,
you can't smile so much.
I shouldn't. Well, no, he didn't say that. That's what I'm interjecting that. No, he was just like, dude,
okay.
Your impression of me, man. It's funny. It's a little Elvis-y.
Jeez. What'd we think of Simon's talk?
Simon killed it. Simon is my. I want like a Superman S shirt, but it really stands for Simon. I want the cape. Simon's my. I'm so happy that he's my friend.
He's no miss.
He's no miss Simon. He did great. He had practiced to talk with me a couple times. He had missed a couple things. This is how all talks go, right? So I'm being critical because I don't. I think we've talked about this before. I want to be a good public speaker. Mm-hmm. I get so nervous that it just keeps me away from doing it. But I'm trying to get wrap my head around it. Just do it kind of thing. So, he was more nervous than just the two of us in a Zoom call for sure. So with nervousness, that comes out differently with different people. I can't remember the specifics of what I remember analyzing this during and just after his talk, but so he skipped a couple things. He wasn't shaky. He didn't seem shaky or his voice quivering, which mine would. I get and my hands are like this.
Yeah.
But he did really good though. He made the point clear. He demoed the product. He explained what he wanted to explain, and I couldn't be prouder of him. I want to go. I want PHP on iOS, and I already have it.
Yeah.
So, what do you think? What did you think?
I think he did really good, and I think it was a really just exciting talk. So, and as we mentioned in last week's episode, he had a banger on his hands, and yeah. Truly. I didn't realize, I had no idea about the Zephyr platform.
Yep.
So that looks pretty cool. Excited to see where that goes. Have you been involved in that at all with him, or not too
No,
much? Is it
because
him and Marcel doing it?
I don't think Marcel's behind it. I don't think so. So what I know,
Okay.
and he'll correct us next week. Um, I don't really know anything.
Okay.
I had brought it up a couple times. I'm like, man, what this needs is a service that Windows users can build iOS apps without buying a MacBook, right? So to have like some sort of offline service that you can feed your repo or code to, and it will build for you. That I think is, I think that's a valid product. I think that's
Yeah.
in the world. I think that needs to exist for the rest of native PHP and native PHP on iOS and soon to be Android. All of that, I think it needs it to really flourish and make it easy for people. Laravel, we're a little spoiled, I think. Even in like, oh, my line is indented two spaces instead of four. You know, like we are spoiled with everything. We like nice things and we expect nice things. So if you're going to put out a library that's going to do something this good, it needs to be polished. It needs to have a nice service that goes with it. And I think that it will not just make the concept of building truly native apps possible with Laravel, but make it a feasible way to market. You know, to bring this into enterprise businesses and to give it the support and the love that it needs. It needs to be funded properly, and I think that's a good way to achieve that.
Are you in the early access program?
I am. I am in the early access program.
Okay, cool.
Are you in the early access
I
program?
have not joined yet. No.
Okay.
I need to.
I think
I need to get
you
in
know
there so I can support.
you know a friend though. You've got a friend in there.
I do. Yeah, but I don't know. Maybe the business can make a donation or something.
Yep.
Just try to help out a little bit because yeah, I mean that's why I'd be joining. I don't think I can really contribute to the actual stuff going on here, but I do know, you know, that Simon and others they're wanting to push this pretty hard, but they just need some resources behind them,
For sure.
so I can understand the move.
So
Um,
I will
yeah,
I'll spill the beans a little bit. I'm going to spill the beans a little bit. There's two
Shane
things.
spills the beans. Here we go. Last week it was Simon. Now
And
it's
I don't know
Shane's
how
turn.
much of this like I don't even know how much of this is going to be real or not, but there's two things that I've been working on. One, I almost brought it up last time, but our conversation last week was a little lengthy.
Mhm.
But I started I had this kind of epiphany, and I ran it by you guys. But so this is kind of announcing it more to our audience or Tendai, which I think already knows. But I started something called LaravelCoach.com. It's just a form. It's like 2 second, like just a fill in form that sends me some whatever you fill into it. The concept behind it, it kind of came to me. I've been struggling for the better part of a year or more with my channel. I had some really early success with my YouTube channel. I have like 2,300 subscribers, and it seems like every time I put anything out, even just a little teaser kind of video, like it gets a lot of attention. So it's like I don't want to like I'm not trying to capitalize financially on it. Not now at least, but I feel like I do love to teach people. I do love Laravel, and I have an audience there. And so I feel kind of some sort of moral obligation or responsibility to use this to take a few minutes here and there to say something, right? But I always come up with like, oh, I could put a little teaser about eloquent refactoring queries or, you know, or like something, right? But it's like, how is that going to really help people? And then I see posts from like Pavlos Korup that say, you know, he's like, I feel like I'm forever destined. I'm summarizing here. I feel like I'm forever destined to only put out beginner content because the more advanced it is, the fewer people actually look into these things, it's always the beginner stuff that gets the most attention. So I'm always just going to keep saying the same things over and over and over the rest of my life, which is beginner stuff. And I thought, that's depressing. I don't like that at all. I want to talk about kind of what, some of these more involved things. The thing is, I feel like it's kind of like, I'll use an analogy of flying an airplane. The first 1,000 feet, when you take off, if your engine fails, that is the most dangerous place to be, right? The first 1,000 feet, once you take off, because if you're less than 1,000 feet above the runway, you don't have enough space to turn around and land on the runway. So you have to find something within 30 degrees either way of you, a field, hopefully, to land on, in case. Once you're past that 1,000 feet, right, you can then circle back to the runway. You have more options. The higher you are, elevation is your friend. The higher you are, the more options you have. You can find fields all over the place, etc. And I think learning Laravel is kind of like that. You have to handhold people. You have to keep them feeling safe in the first 1,000 feet when they're learning things. And the more advanced stuff isn't landing, no pun intended there, it's not landing with people because if it's more advanced, they've already figured out enough to find the answers to the things that they're looking for, right?
Mm-hmm.
All that to say this, that was just I just came to me. But all that to say this, I thought, why would I try to come up with things that I think people should learn? Why not just ask somebody that's coming into Laravel for the first time, that wants to learn it, that's eager to learn it, and record it? And so that's the idea behind Laravel Coach. You fill out the form and I'm looking for some specific things. I don't care if you've been a developer for 20 something years, but not in Laravel, or if you're brand new to development altogether. If you can get Herd running on your computer and you can get Laravel new or add a new site and you can just get it in the browser and you have an IDE, we can record something together. I don't ask for any money in return. I just want to record it and answer questions along the way. I don't know everything, and I try to preface that. I don't know everything, but we can search, whatever. It's open book test, right? We're just learning here.
Yeah.
Chances are if I bring a beginner to Laravel, they're going to ask questions that most other people are going to be asking too. They'll be thinking of things in a different way, possibly too, than what I'm used to, and could challenge me, but could open that door basically for other people. So I just recorded my first episode. I put out a tweet of just like, hey, does anybody want to learn Laravel kind of thing? I didn't say anything about Laravel Coach. I did not have any idea. This is like, I didn't have the site at all. I didn't have any idea to make that. And Taylor Otwell retweeted it and a bunch of people liked it. And so I'm like, oh shit. All right, let me throw something together here. And that's where the site came from. And immediately like 50 people filled out the form and I've gone through most of them. I've got like 20 to 30 people that seem interesting enough to talk to for the next steps. So I brought one guy in, Sean Inder, his name is. We messaged a bit on X. We had a couple Zoom calls, and then we recorded just a few days ago. And I used Riverside's AI feature to do something with the talk, and I like pushed it out there without really checking it, and I'm listening to it back after I put it out on YouTube, and we're like talking over constantly, like talking over each other, and it's like we weren't doing that bad, I didn't think. So I went back and I just edited it. It's gonna go out today, but even in like, it was only out for 10 or 15 minutes, but it already had like 30 something views and 3 or 4 likes. So that's like, all right, so I'm on to something here, so I want to keep pushing with that. So, LaravelCoach.com, fill out the form. Maybe you'll be on my my little channel. That's not the beans I was really going to spill, but I wanted to talk about that first.
Yeah. Well, I love the idea. I think that's super cool. And I think it'll be whatever. I don't have any elegant words here. I just think it's going to be a really good series. I genuinely like the idea of coaching somebody along, and to me, it sounds a lot like recording pair programming sessions.
Yeah.
And I don't know. even experienced Laravel developers might pick up little things here along the way, but at the same time, a lot of those that are new will be able to like sympathetically experience like through this person that you are coaching. I really like that strategy. I've done that for other educational things. I'm trying to remember everything from like this is gonna sound this is like totally left field, but like golf swing coaching, where like yeah, you watch the coach a student on whatever, and the student does end up like asking very similar questions that I would be asking in the moment that the
Yep.
coach wouldn't have thought to answer without having that prompt. So the format, I'm liking the format. I think it's really cool.
I think two things too: scratch that it itches, or itch that it scratches. I always get that. I think they're the same word. One, I like to edit videos. I hate editing videos. I enjoy it, but it takes so much effing time that it sidetracks my whole life. I have another buddy that's a streamer now. He moved over from YouTube more to Twitch. Arturo Rojas, I believe is his name, and he used to edit videos and put videos out. And he's like, it kind of sucks because it takes so long to edit the videos, and now he just streams. And I think that this is kind of a hybrid where it's kind of a stream. I don't have to edit so much. We can talk for 2 hours and I'm really just editing the beginning and the end or something, like adding just a
Yeah.
little, kind of like what we do for this, right?
Right.
So I like that. The other thing is, like, I know, like, when I was learning to fly, those were the kinds of videos that I watched. We want to find somebody that's going through the same thing that we are. You replicate somebody doing something successful, right? You find somebody that's successful and you replicate what they're doing, and you kind of vicariously live through them. And then you look at that. I learned stuff and I did it on my own. And, so I think that, it's an interesting concept. I don't know if it's been done before, but if you go to like Laracast, anywhere else that Laravel is being taught, I don't see anybody else doing it like this. Like taking
Yeah.
somebody one-on-one. And the goal here too is not just to have Sean on there. I want to get 6, 7, 10 people that I'm just doing, and like get them like going on some sort of project, and then I meet up with them for half an hour a week, something like that. And they can ask me questions once they get more going, and kind of hold their hand a little bit for a month or two or something like that. And it'd be really cool, even, I thought, to do like a Zoom call with everybody, once a month or something, and everybody, like a show and tell or something, like what you learned, or just ask me questions. I might need someone like you or Simon or something on there to, give some more perspective, because that could be a little exhausting, I guess. But it'd be fun though. I think that I don't know. I'm excited about it. I feel excitement.
Yeah. It's gonna be great. All right. So what's the thing you're gonna spill the beans on?
All right. So
Drum roll.
I'm pregnant. No, I'm just kidding. Obviously, I'm kidding. That was a little redundant to say. No, I'm serious. I was kidding about kidding. So in talking to Simon about how he got this thing working, I was like, dude, that is nuts. Like, how would you even start? Like, the idea, okay, I get the idea. So he somehow he compiled PHP, his own PHP library, and made it embeddable in C, and brought that into a Swift application for iOS, and used it as a library to run Laravel against. All right, so I get the concept here of how that's working. And
You do.
like, just so ask me, like, what
When
about
he
that
was
don't you
explaining it
get?
last week, I just was like,
What?
okay, this is I need a diagram or something. This is getting really intense. So
That's kind of what, like, I kind of been thinking about this actually. So, all right, so the beans that are spilling, hopefully not my coffee because I've got two computers in front of me. The beans that are spilling are, and he knows this, though I haven't like verbosely told him. I just keep asking questions around it. I have been, I've probably spent 50 hours in the last week and a half trying to compile my own PHP embeddable C library for Android. And when
I
I
see.
first talked to him, he said, Android shouldn't be that bad. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. I'm just focusing on one thing at a time because it's an entirely separate project. There's no relationship there. The concept abstractly is the same. So I took this to where everyone takes good questions now, OpenAI, or actually I go to Claude, Anthropic more, and just started basic questions. That has grown to now I get frustrated 3 or 4 times a day because I got a paid subscription with Anthropic. Last night I got a second paid subscription with Anthropic because you run out of like tokens or however they do it. Like it's like, hey, you hit your limit, check back in 4 or 5 hours or something. So I'm like, no, damn it. So now I've got two totally separate Anthropic, Claude, Sonnet.
They don't just have like a you can pay for more tokens
I
subscription.
tried. No. Uh, but I mean, that's what I did.
Are those the guys that do Cursor?
I don't think so. I don't think
No,
so.
is that someone else? Okay.
I don't know.
I
So
was about to say they probably just want you using that. So open up Cursor and just write PHP comments as your prompts, and it'll.
I
I'm
wish it was
kidding. I'm
that
kidding.
easy. No, I mean, I thought about that and I keep asking it. Like every time I get so like I've been going to bed super late at night, getting up super early in the morning and just hitting this and then trying to get work in also and the rest of life stuff. And I've been burning the candle at both ends, so to speak. So now I know like this is kind of like when we were talking to Hampire 3 or 4 months ago. This is
Mm-hmm.
kind of what he was doing and wasn't telling anybody about it. I don't think, not to this extent, at least, not us. I 4 or 5 days ago, I got it to finally build,
Nice.
and that's a whole process. And I thought about streaming this because all you do really is just see millions of lines of code going by in my CLI, and then me going back to ChatGPT or Anthropic and just asking all these questions, and then copying and pasting the answers over, and trying it again, and then copying the error and then putting it back like for hours. But I could do that not alone. You know what I mean? Like I could be, somebody could be there maybe, but I finally got it to build. I bring it into an Android Studio project and I try to compile it because it gives me all the instructions to get it to reference this library and all this stuff. And it's like, oh, you're missing all of these core functions that you need for PHP. And I'm like, son of a bitch. So I go back and have to recompile it with new libraries and more libraries. And that's I've done that twice, and the last time, like it's kind of like when you just like go through some code and you find an error, and then you fix the error, and then you come up to the next error, and you're like working through something, and then the next error, and the next error, and then finally you get it. It's like doing that, but that's like a micro scale. It's like I have to do that like 1,000 times to do one attempt in Android Studio against an Android application. So now I have this iteration of Android Studio, and it's like, oh, got to an error, have to go back, do this another 1,000 times, and then bring it over. And now I'm on the second iteration. And it's like, I think I've done 5 or 6 bringing it into Android Studio. And now I go back, and now it's like, and I keep like, I get to the point where I'm bashing Claude over the head, like, stop being an idiot. Tell me comprehensively what I need to do here, you know? And it's like, well, I guess I'm the idiot, but because I don't know how to do this. There's no way one human could know how to do all this stuff. There's no way. I would be very
Hmm.
impressed if you knew how to compile each of these. I'm bringing in like, I don't even know, like so many libraries. and then I have to override them and compile them against the. I don't want to go too much into detail, but it's exhausting. It's a lot. It's a lot of stuff. And I think at some point I would show the world once I get it working, right? I would show people like this is what I had to do. This is how I did it. And this is how
Please
it works.
feel bad for me.
It's not just that. I think it's building a lot of value into this. Like once I can get just a Laravel hello world, even like the first thing that you start is just like you're echoing less than sign question mark PHP echo hello world close bracket inside of an Android application. Just getting that far, I've done that a couple times. Just a simple PHP build, but it's not enough. What I had wasn't enough to run Laravel. So, and then there's like configuring the whole application to point at Laravel properly, and that's a separate whole thing, you know. But so as of last night, I had to rebuild the script entirely again from scratch, and not only that, I have to compile it for 4 different architectures. So there's there's ARM64, there's x86, there's x80, whatever, the ARM ABI, whatever. There's like 4 different to cover all of the gambit of Android processors, right? It's not as easy as iOS in that regard, to my knowledge. I didn't try it for iOS, but so I finally got it to build the dependencies. Before building the PHP, you have to get all the dependencies linked properly and all that stuff so that you can make them into PHP. And finally got that last night. And then this morning, I'm starting again to compile for PHP, just one architecture at a time. And as of now, it's literally on the last step to compile for the first one. So I feel like I'll probably get it into Android Studio again to try out again today. So I'll be on my 7th iteration on that side of things, you know. I get less and less like excited about doing that because it's like this is a pain, but it's a good pain. I've learned a lot.
So what's like the dominant language that's used to build Android apps? Like iOS, it's Swift or Objective-C. But today it's Swift. What is it over Android? Is it Kotlin or is it something
really.
else?
Yeah, I don't know. Like I'm
know.
not.
Okay.
I don't know. I just like paste answers from AI. No, it's I kind of don't know. I know there's like KT files. So like your main activity is Kotlin,
Okay.
and it uses Gradle, and I haven't gone into it that much. Once I get this Hello World Laravel, I need to take a deeper dive into how Android works and what it's doing. I think I know that it compiles things down into Java to some degree, or everything works in the Java runtime environment, JRE. So I know that much. There was something I wanted to see.
I guess I'm just curious if like the general concept of what Simon showed in his talk, which is, you know, to make so many of these system functions work within your PHP application, you need to use C to define a PHP extension. Is that the right term? To have your custom ghost function that you can then set up in Swift to call C. So you're almost using that whole setup as it's not an inter-process communication, right? Like IPC, but it's like inter-language communication.
Yeah.
Are you going to be able to do the same thing for the Android side of things? Like, can you
Yes.
use Kotlin to call a C function that you've set up as a PHP extension?
I don't. So the whole, and I don't like. I haven't asked this question yet. I haven't built a PHP extension yet to interface with this. The whole premise of this, though, is to get it into an embeddable, to make PHP embeddable in C. Like it's a C. It's like a low level library now that can talk as close to the hardware as you already are talking with everything else that you could do in Android. So configuring an extension that's bound into it to it's got to be that way. Like you have to make it native to PHP. You have to make it not native to PHP, but you have to make it be able to talk directly to PHP from PHP side, talk directly to the Java side or the Kotlin side or whatever it is. So you have to expose these functions. You have all these methods available to you in the runtime environment, right? So you have these functions: turn on the camera or get the camera, or get access to the camera, or send notification or whatever it is. Now that it's just this embeddable library, this PHP, the whole PHP is now this libphp.a. If that has methods inside of it, you can call those. So, or when you call them from PHP, you can say, hey, when that gets called, intercept it and handle it on this side. I think fundamentally that it has to work, and that's what I'm building this for. I haven't gotten that far yet, but
Okay.
one thing at a time. Like if I can get yeah, I think that's kind of where Simon got with iOS, right? Like he got it so that not only is it you can build an application and it's running Laravel and there's no web server here. It's handling the request. You can do live wire stuff. You can do anything you want to inside of Laravel. It's being handled. Not everything, because not all the libraries are, and Android is a lot more strict, to be honest. From what I understand, Android is more strict into like what it will allow or what libraries it needs to function and what libraries it will not allow to function. DNS, for example, you cannot bring DNS from PHP into it. So
That surprises me a little bit, just because like I know Android is just used in so many other applications besides a phone. You know, like shoot, I have a wireless CarPlay player in my car, and like it's just this little disc, but it's
yeah,
like technically an Android device. You know,
I've got the
so
same
that's
thing.
surprising. Okay, wow. I
It's
just
not that you go ahead.
I'm just saying, a lot of hurdles, a lot of hurdles.
A lot, a
Like
lot,
you're just
a
trying to
lot.
get to the start line, and you've already had to navigate, like a boot camp course plus 100-meter hurdle dash plus all sorts of stuff.
It is true. It is true. But it's I've learned a lot. I also like I'm skipping a lot of opportunities to learn too, because it's just way too much. But I'm just trying to get to the process. I'm just trying to find the next error and not get caught up on the same error 100 times. But
I'm
whatever.
curious. Okay, I'm just gonna throw this out there. At what point do you or do you feel like you would ever reach a point where you decide, you know what, like trying to make this work to get Laravel or a PHP application to run on an Android device, the juice is just not worth the squeeze anymore. Like if I want, at the end of the day, I mean, of course, I guess there's just do it because you want to. It's a experimental thing. Kind of push that aside. Because I know you think very entrepreneurially and very like commercially. So it's like, at what point do you decide like, you know what, this is such a, and maybe it'll end up being a super tight, cohesive thing. But yeah, I don't know. Do you just feel like you'd potentially reach the point where you're just like, okay, this is trying to get things to do what they're not wanting to do to such an extreme extent that the juice isn't worth the squeeze anymore. And if I want an Android app, I need to just learn how to build a normal Android app.
The the simple answer is no.
Just keep going.
I think part of it is because I want to, like something just to do. It's like a hobby.
Yeah, yeah,
I actually don't feel that way. I don't feel like this is hobby. And I'm not just trying to do it. I think that this, all right, I think that I have a belief that native PHP, if it can actually be done, right? If you can actually just take a Laravel application and build a real actual native, I know it's Electron, under the hood or Tori for desktop applications, but if you can actually build an iPhone app with the same skills that we already have, like I don't have to learn C. I just have to learn how to navigate the app store and like get my app published and signing and all that crap. I feel like that is a world changer. I feel like that actually will change if there's a push to try to get like Next.js developers into Laravel. This is going to bring like so many more people into Laravel. Like learn Laravel, and now look at all these things you can do. Look at all these other things that you can accomplish, and if you can make it easy for people, and they're like lower the bar to entry, as few hurdles as possible, solve all those problems, they're going to do it. And the thing is, I feel like you native for mobile will not it will not work as far as like being able to be sold as a product unless it's also working for Android, because that's the first question everyone's going to have. Can I
yeah.
do it for Android? Can I do it for, most like I have an iPhone. Almost everybody I know in this community has an iPhone. Most of the world does not have an iPhone. Most of the world has some sort of Android device. So that is like, if you're looking at this as like some sort of enterprise solution where you're trying to build apps for your company, you have to be able to support Android almost exclusively. Almost That's almost always the case. There is one app that I have for flying that only exists on iOS. It's actually what brought me to iPhone. I was Android forever until I started learning to fly. So, but I see the light now. I'm in the whole. I love taking my phone call to my computer and just hitting a button, and
Mm-hmm.
it just happens. It's nice. But so no, I don't think that there's. If I spent a year on this and I'm no further along than where I'm at now, maybe.
Okay,
But
that's a
I
long time
don't.
though. So you're in this
Yeah.
for the
Oh,
long
for
haul.
sure. Yeah, and I
Okay.
feel like I don't know this, but I feel like I am. I don't think Simon started on this yet, and I don't think anybody else has. So I do have this feeling every night that I'm staying up till 1 in the morning, like almost like I'm racing against maybe just the demons in my head, but anybody else in the world that has a sniff or understanding of what I'm trying to accomplish, and they're trying to do it too, and I want to be the first one to the moon kind of thing, like
Yeah.
I feel like I'm farther ahead than anybody else has gotten. I did ask Anthropic yesterday, like, could I try this for a different version of PHP that would make it easier? Hoping it would say like, because I'm doing this for PHP 8.2, hoping it would say like 8.4 made it so much easier to do this for Android. But it's like, no, 7 was easy. But it's gotten more and more strict. Just the way that you're compiling different libraries and linking them together, it's gotten harder. So it's going to get harder as well. They're like, don't try 8.3, don't try 8.4. If you don't have to, don't. And so I'm like, well, what's the minimum for Laravel? That's 8.2. So at least for
Hmm.
Laravel 11. I don't know if 12 is going to require a higher version. I don't think it would. I think 8.2 is going to be, I hope it's going to be the one for a while. But I am kind of scared to look at whatever beta Laravel, or just ask Jason, like, what is 12 going to be? What's the requirement for PHP? Hopefully it's still 8.2. 8.2.13, because that's the one I'm building this for. If it's 14, I have to redo everything, and it could change everything. But minor versions are what they are. they change these core libraries sometimes, so the way that they're handling them. So
Do you feel like there's anybody out there that would either, I don't know that like Android or just like the architectures you're compiling for, or maybe the struggle is more on the PHP side. So somebody that kind of understands, I'm even thinking like a core PHP team member. I don't even know what you want to call that, organization member. Um, Anybody that you could just like throw out there and be
so
like, hey, does somebody have 30 minutes to see what you think about any of this? And they
I
could
know
just
a
kind of,
couple people that are deeper in the world. So PHP is definitely going to be where the problem is. Compiling it
okay,
for Android. I spent a lot of time looking at the docs, and I got to this one line, and I was like, hey, Anthropic, you son of a, why does this say this? It says specifically it is not supported. Compiling PHP for Android is not supported officially. And Anthropic came back, and it's like, and I was like, dude, this is after spending a week on it, right? I'm like, what the? He's like, and it's like, no, it's not officially supported. That's why we're doing everything that we're doing. So we have to compile it ourselves. We have to build it ourselves. We have to go through these problems ourselves. To the best of my knowledge, there's probably some people that did this on earlier versions in 8.2, maybe a long time ago. I I haven't really looked, but I would find it hard to believe there are any sort of people, a group of people that have experience compiling PHP into an embeddable library for specifically for Android, because that's the big part. It's like, why would anybody do that? Who would do that? Well, maybe somebody that's trying to get native functionality out of their Laravel app. And so who's doing that? It's Simon. So, and he hasn't done it yet, you know. I could ping Marcel and see if he has experience with this specifically. He's got a ton of experience compiling PHP. He does all the stuff with Herd, and like I know that he's very very into the inner workings of PHP. And so it might be worth asking him just some basic questions at some point. But honestly, as of this morning, I feel a little optimistic. I feel like within an hour or two of getting off this meeting, I'll at least be back in the Android world trying this again.
okay.
And
Here's a
this
kind of
is
stupid question.
I love them.
I'm just gonna throw it out there. Android, or even I doubt Apple would, but does Android not have like a Docker type thing? Like I like this just sounds like such a challenge. Like in a way, this is what Docker meant to solve, where you can take all of this stuff that you're trying to get to execute on a different platform and just sort of like bundle it up in its own little virtual environment. And then I'm guessing they wouldn't allow you to do anything like that, huh?
I don't know what you mean. So like so there's a whole like Laravel is supposed to exist on a web server, right?
Mm-hmm.
The chat I don't know how to answer that. I don't know. Well, first of all, I mean, just think about Android is running inside of a virtual environment in the first place. It's JRE, it's the runtime environment. It's a virtual environment.
Yeah.
All of Android is virtual on Android devices. Anyway, it's running inside of a virtual Java machine. To the best of my knowledge, I could be totally off on that.
Okay. Okay.
But no, I don't know. Number one, if that would help solve any complexity issues. I don't know if that would even, if it's even doable or possible. So are you suggesting like having like a web server running in a container inside of an application inside of Android.
I don't really even know.
Yeah, I'm not going to go there. I think get it as close to the source as possible. I think getting it as close to making it a native, overusing the word, making it an Android application that looks like any other Android application. It's just referencing all of your code coming from a Laravel project. I think that's because then at the end of the day, anything that if those two can be bridged together, PHP and Android, right? If they can talk to each other efficiently, and anything that you're trying to do more or less, because there's some libraries that just aren't going to work, XML or something, some things. And Android just like, yep, whatever, dude. You just tell me what to do and I'll just do it. And if that can be seamless, then as Android upgrades, as long as that bridge stays connected, we don't have to really worry about too many other things. Whereas if you offload this into some other environment, you might be opening the door to a lot of other problems down the line too. I think. I don't know. We'll see.
All right.
We'll see.
Well, I look forward to checking in on your progress.
Me too.
I don't think I envy you right now. Because it sounds really cool, but oof, just so beyond the scope of anything I know. So it sounds and feels daunting.
And I'll tell you this too. This is kind of like, I always try to, I have wanted to be part of the Laravel community at large. I started Laravel and I saw these things called Laracons happening, in Kentucky. There was one, and there was one in somewhere else in Chicago. And I was just a developer using Laravel all the time, thinking this whole other world of people out there, get to enjoy on all this stuff. And it's just not me. It's just not who I am. And as I've gotten more and more into it, it's like, I love Laravel. I love Laravel, right? I have loved Laravel for a long time. It's one of my greatest loves in my life. And if not me, then who? And I think there's probably a lot of people that would feel that way, where you use it so much and you understand it, at least enough to ask the right questions, but you understand it enough to want to be more involved, but you're kind of intimidated or scared by the people that are on the stage at Lericon or whatever, or creating all these packages or whatever. And I feel like I feel a little dumb sometimes with my PHP code, or just with my like there's like so many levels or layers you can refactor your code down into to make it this snippet on X. That's just like, man, you're a freaking genius. Like, I would never have thought of that. A lot more work goes into that than what people realize. That people don't just usually think this way. They boil it down into the sweet syrup that it is. I feel like because there's less competition in what I'm doing, I feel like I'm opening the door to, I feel like I'm the one kind of introducing this. Now, not actually because Simon did, but on the Android side at least,
You're pioneering.
I'm pioneering. That was a lot of sentences to just boil it to I'm pioneering. But that's exactly, I feel like I'm pioneering the Android PHP efforts. Yeah. That's all. And it feels good. Yeah. It feels like this is something that I can bring into the community and know something about that other people don't, Anyway.
Killer. Well, next week, we'll hopefully have Simon back and we'll get an update on where you are. No pressure.
Hopefully farther along than I am now. Hopefully.
Yeah. Sweet. And then next episode, we can, cover a whole bunch of other stuff. So we'll go from there. But right now, I need to wrap up. We were saying we're going to cap this at 30
know,
minutes,
half an
so
hour.
Here we are,
it's an hour later. Yeah.
So let's go ahead and wrap this. And next week we'll talk about some other stuff while Simon's back on.
Tendai, thank you for all your support. Everybody else that's possibly listening, thank you for your support as well. And, if you liked any part of this, go ahead and give us a share, a like, a subscribe, and, who knows? Maybe we'll have you on the show someday. Until then.
Peace. See you, dude.